Shalom. We're the real Hebrew Israelites coming to you week in and week out, prophesying the return of the Most High and His Heavenly Son. All praises and honor and glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. Double honors to the apostles out in New York at Great Millstone, at GMS. Honors to all the Akim around the planet, lifting up the name of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI in truth and sincerity. This is Brother Uriah from GMS Chicago with another installment of GMS Chicago Turning Up the Heat, or GMS Chicago Sit Downs. And with no further ado, we're just going to go straight to it. All right. This is going to be a lesson on confusion of faces. We're the real Hebrew Israelites, and we are, majority of us, I can't even really say the majority, I can say a vast number of us are the so-called Negro, Latino, or Native American Indians. Outside of that, which are the 12 tribes of Israel, you also have a confusion of face. Now the word confusion of face actually comes from the scriptures Daniel 9 and 4 through I think 10 or 11 or something like that, verse 9. And we're going to start off with that, and then we're going to go into that word, because confusion of face is even deeper than just the one level of meaning of just if I looked in the mirror and I saw my face and I'm confused to who I am. The word goes into a little bit deeper than that, but the end result is twofold, but it's also saying you don't know who the hell you are, and that's a shame. All right. Daniel 9 and 4. And I prayed unto Yahawah my power, and made my confession, and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful power, keeping the covenant of mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned, and have committed iniquity, and have done wickedly, and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgments. And that's the root of the main, and we're going to get back to this, but keep that in mind. We fucked up. All right. We sinned, we committed iniquity, we've done wickedly, we've rebelled against Yahawah, Yahawashai, and we let the scriptures and the interpretations and understanding of the scriptures go. And we've just been doing us and following after these other nations and heathens, which also is a shame. Okay. Neither have we hearkened unto the servants, thy servants the prophets, which spake in thy name to our kings. So how did who are the prophets speaking for? The Most High. We're speaking in the name of Yahawah. Now, no one wants to listen to the men of the Lord, the real prophets. They rather listen to the jack-legged preacher man. They rather listen to the cracker. All right, that's just the slave master, versus listen to a humble, righteous man, Yahawah, who's bringing the scriptures out, precept upon precept, precept upon precept, week in and week out. All right, with the true knowledge and doctrine. All right, which is also a shame. All right. Which spake in the name to our kings, spake in thy name to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, and to all the people of the land. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day, to the men of Judah, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near and that are far off, through all the countries whither thou hast driven them, because of their trespass that they have trespassed against thee. O Lord, to us belongeth confusion of faces, to our kings, our princes, and our fathers, because we have sinned against thee. To the Lord God, to the Lord our power belong mercies and forgiveness, though we rebelled against him. Neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our power to walk in his laws, which he has set before us by his servants, the prophets. All right, so I'm going to go back to verse 7. O Lord, Adanya. Adan is Lord in Hebrew. Adanya means my Lord. Basically, my Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us confusion of faces, as at this day. Then he says, to the men of Judah. So that's your so-called regular, so-called average Negro. I'm from the tribe of Judah, to the best of my knowledge, and it's a black man, right? and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. Now, the inhabitants of Jerusalem were not only so-called Negro Judites, but they're also Negro Benjamites, which are the so-called West Indies, Jamaica, Trinidad, the islands, to Levites, which are the Haitians, all right? But those so-called Negroid people, that's also inhabitants of Jerusalem, and into all Israel, which is the so-called Latinos, so-called Native Americans, so-called Negroes, all of us, all right, that are near those around that time frame. Because if you go back into Daniel's time, when Daniel was making this prayer, who were we under captivity to? Nebuchadnezzar, all right, and we were assimilating in Babylon underneath their culture and their customs, and some Israelites totally was falling for them hook, line, and sinker. Then you had Israelites who were standing against them, all right, and that are far off, and that was since Babylon to now. Far off, it's far off. This is way down the line of Daniel. He Most High told Daniel in Daniel 12, stand in that lot at the end of days. So in the day, that's a far off, all right. Through all the countries, whether thou hast driven them, which means all over the planet, no matter where on the planet that you find an Israelite, so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, and confusion of face, all right. And all those so-called Negro like that, we all been under confusion of face because of their trespass, because we went off, and they have trespassed against thee. All right. So now let's go into first. We'll go into the English of confusion. This is online etymology dictionary. It goes into the history of a word, the true study of a word. Confusion, from late 13th century, overthrow or ruin. So if you look at that definition, unto us becomes confusion of faces. Well, our face has been overthrown. Our face has been ruined. Okay. How can you overthrow someone's face? Well, if they were a particular people at one point in time, and you take everything that was theirs, and then you take ownership of that, and then tell them there's something totally different, and you take their identity, you overthrew them. All right. Or you take them down, take them out of their power, take them out of their kingdom. All right. From the old French confusion, disorder, confusion, shame. From Latin, confusionum. So this is where the Latin comes before all that. So, and this is confusio, a mingling. I'll say it again, a mingling, mixing, blending. Confusion, disorder. All right. So now, if you look at that from the Latin, if you mingle, if you had a son, and that son was an Israelite, but you got it with any random nation, it doesn't matter, from Japanese to Korean to black, white, green, yellow, orange, or blue, it doesn't matter. And they had a child, and then that child looks half Israelite and half of a heathen. And then that child has a child, and with another heathen, so they're even looking even more far away from the original Israelite, to they have another child, and next thing you know, they look just like the heathen nations. That's a mixing and blending of the cultures and races, and the Most High doesn't mind to a certain degree. We're supposed to have wives of our own race first, but we have secondary wives, concubines, could be of any race. All right. But when we are taken away from our power, having multiple women, which we don't have, because, well, some men do, but majority of men is taught against this. Monogamy is the prevalent ideology that's taught in the world today. One man having one wife, but the ratio of women to men is extremely high. It's more women than men. So if every one man had a woman, there will be billions of women without a man, which is wickedness. All right. Everything is right off. As a matter of fact, let me get this real quick. Everything in this world, all the foundations are out of course according to the Psalms. Everything is backwards, and which is also leading to the true understanding of what confusion of face is. Everything's fucking off. Everything is backwards. Psalms 82 and 5. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are out of course. Everything is backwards. So we don't know shit. All right? Everything is upside fucking down. All right? That's why we also have a confusion of face. Everything is in disorder. Everything is in confusion. Everything is blended and mixed up. All right? From confudere to pour together to confuse. All right? The sense of putting to shame or sort of a mental overthrow is late 14th century. And mental perplexity from 1590s. Now let's get into the Hebrew. All right? This is confusion in the Daniel 9 and 7. It's the Hebrew word bashath, bashath, all right, which means shame, shame or a shameful thing. All right, so now let's go look up shame. All right, shame from Old English Scamian, be ashamed, blush, feel shame, cause shame. From the root of shame. So we gotta go more going to the noun. And Slacky, hold on 1 second. Alright. So shame, the noun. Old English skamu, feeling of guilt or disgrace. Alright, that's a good one. Feeling of guilt, because you know now the scripture said let's go back to the scripture. Daniel 9 is I think it was a 7. Well, yeah, I think it was up above. Okay, right, verse 5. We have Daniel 9 and 5. We have sinned, that's a sign of guilt, have committed iniquity, have done wickedly, and have rebelled, even departing from thy precepts and thy judgments, not listening to the prophets. And now since we did all those wickedness, we feel guilty about it. The end result was a confusion of face, also meaning shame. I'm going to prove that in a second. Well, we did through bashath, shame. All right, but it says feeling of guilt, disgrace, confusion by shame. All right. So now the result. So this is why you got to understand the scripture and the words. The reason why it's a shame, because one of the results of that shame is confusion. Confusion caused by shame. All right. Disgrace, dishonor, and we're gonna come back to this shame in a second. But let me go back to bashath. You see, bashath is the word that was there in Daniel 9 and 7. And just to prove that, you go back to Daniel 9 and 7. It says, "O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, alakah to you, Adanya, my Lord, hatazadach, salaki, hatazadach, the righteousness, la wa, lanawa, and to us." So to the Most Highest righteousness, but what, and to us, wa, lanawa, to us, bashath. Here you go, ba, sha, and the ta, bashath. All right, shame, the feeling and the condition, as well as its cause, by implication, specifically an idol. All right, but it's bashath, and I like this little program because you can get the definitions and stuff. But this one gives you a concise definition, when the blue letter gives you a more detailed. All right, but it still says bashath, so we know that's the word here in Daniel 9. But it says from, which you know that's a root word. So you got to go to the root. You see etymology. You have to go to the root word to get the true meaning. So we go click on that. I already did. It's boash. All right, boash, which means to put to shame, to be ashamed, be disconcerted, be disappointed, to feel shame, be ashamed, disconcerted, disappointed, by reason of, to delay in shame, to be put to shame, act shamefully, be ashamed before one another. Ashamed, confounded, shame. Those are some of the words. All right, to be astonished, to be confounded, put to silence. All right, so to be put to shame. All right, now we go back to shame, confusion caused by shame. If you've done some things that was wicked and you feel bad about it, you should feel shamed, right? Well, one of the end results is confusion, because when the Lord said you don't act right, what I'm going to do? I'm going to put your ass out. When we got put out, we adapted and adopted every single other culture and every single other philosophy under the planet, and over time have lost our true identity of who we really are. And all the heathens is going to be put to shame for their wickedness against us as a people. But not to be an Israelite and be a heathen, or to be an Israelite and act like a heathen, is a goddamn shame. All right, which is why we have got confusion of faces to this day. Disgrace. It's a disgrace not to know that you're an Israelite. It's a disgrace to go away from the law, statutes, and commandments of the Israelites if you're an Israelite. Dishonor, insult, loss of esteem or reputation. Not a loss of only esteem. If you're an Israelite, we were held in great esteem. We are royal people, a peculiar nation. All right, and when you cause shame to come to the family, shame to come to your people, it's a loss of esteem and reputation, because you went away from who you are as a people. All right, now we're liking them as a heathen. All right, anyone, matter of fact, I'll get that in Matthew's 18, I believe, 18, 17, or 17 and 18. Let's go straight to the point. And if he shall neglect to hear them, that's an Israelite man. If you don't know this already, let's go over it. It said, moreover, if thy brother, verse 15, shall trespass against thee. So if you have a brother, that brother is of the womb, adelphos, a brother near or remote, but is from delphos, the womb. So someone of the womb, that's your actual kin, all right, your brother. Not no metaphorical brother. Oh, you're a white guy, but yes, my brother. No, fuck that shit. No, we're talking about real kin, all right? Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go tell him his fault between thee alone. So you're supposed to tell him, this is the path of how you're supposed to deal with those problems. But we're going to the end result. If he, your brother, shall neglect to hear them, the other brothers, tell it to the church, which is the group of brothers, the prophets and the priests. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican. Anyone who doesn't follow the law, statutes, commandments, and the doctrine and the ruling of the men of the Lord, he said, let them be a heathen. Let them be a publican. That's one of the greatest shames that can come on to an Israelite, is for us to count you as a fucking cracker, as a fucking gook, as a fucking heathen. All right. So Daniel, going back to Daniel, unto us belongs confusion of faces, because we went away from the law, statutes, commandments of the Most High. We disobeyed. Verse 10, neither have we obeyed the voice of the Lord our power to walk in his laws, which he sent before us by his servants the prophets. All right, which what this had, the end result of that is confusion of faces. All right, shame face, and one of the result of the confusion, which confusion also means mingling, mixed, and so forth, is the losing of our heritage and our culture. All right, let me see if there's any more in this one. Shame, dishonor. Oh no, was that in, yeah, we was in that one. Shame, loss of esteem, reputation, shameful circumstance, being beat, hung, raped, butt naked. All right, that's a shameful circumstance. What brings disgrace? Falling away from the laws, modesty, private parts. All right, all right, okay. And then the root of shame, the best guess they say is from PIE, skim, from kim, to cover. All right, covering oneself being a common expression of shame. All right, and now what are we covered with? The false names, false identities. We don't know who the fuck we are. All right, so now we have that shame, that confusion of face. So let's go to Jeremiah 3 and 20. All right, we're going to follow some of these words of that word shame. All right. Surely as a wife treacherously departed from her husband, so have ye dealt treacherously with me, O house of Israel, saith the Lord. So Mosiah is saying, y'all cheated on it. We as a people have cheated on the Most High, just like a woman cheats on her man. All right, and he says treacherous, bagada. All right, to cover, all right, to act covertly, all right, to deal deceitfully, treacherously, all right. A voice was heard upon the high places, weeping and supplications of the children of Israel, for they have perverted their way, and they have forgotten the Lord their power. Okay, then it's telling you what happened. Our voice was heard upon the high places, weeping and supplications of the children of Israel, for they have perverted their way, and they have forgotten the Most High. We've forgotten the Most High. You go look at the high places today in these modern day churches, they're up there praising Jesus Christos. They call it Jesus, when his name is a Hebrew name, YAHAWASHI. Then you look at so-called Jesus, and he's a white so-called man with blonde hair and blue eyes. All right? That's a motherfucking shame. All right? When his name is YAHAWASHI, and he was an Israelite from the tribe of Judah with woolly hair and skin of brass as if it burnt in the furnace, according to Revelations, the first chapter, 13 through 15. All right? We have perverted the way. All right, depraved the way, perverted the way, be crooked in the way, do wickedly, do wrong. That's that perversion. All right, and they have forgotten the Lord their power. Return, ye backsliding children, and I will heal your backslidings. Behold, we come unto thee, for thou art the Lord our power. So in order to get rid of this shame and this confusion, we have to return to the Most High. If we return to the Most High, we end up coming back to Yahawah, YAHAWASHI, the Israelites, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American Indians. We have the real Israelites, and so forth. And we're going to follow the law, statute, commandments to the best of our ability. All right. Truly in vain is salvation hoped for from the hills and from the multitude of mountains. Right now, the prevalent ideology of the planet is that anybody can be saved. Anybody can make it to heaven, to the kingdom of Israel. It's going to be United States, United Nations of Israel. It's bullshit, man. Israel's going to be inhabited, and that's why the scripture says Israel shall dwell in safety alone. All right? And they're going to be found liars, because the Most High is not opening up Israel to all these different fucking heathens, because they're not Israelites, who are the true sons and daughters of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. All right? Truly is the Lord our God, is truly in Yahawah our power, is the salvation of Israel. All right? For shame, Wahabashath, that's that same word shame, have devoured the labor of our fathers from our youth. Right now, you go ask anybody who was your great granddaddy and what all the labors that he's done, they would not know that it was either Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob and the Israelites and the works done of the prophets and so forth before us. All right, they would not be able to say that. All right, so recap verse 24. For shame hath devoured the labor of our fathers from our youth, their flocks and their herds, their sons and their daughters. So if shame, all right, that same shame devoured the labor of our fathers from our youth. That's one of the reasons why you go back into our heritage and culture and you ask any so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, what's your nationality, where you come from, where your people come 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago, 400, 500, before we got brought over here on slave ships, and they're going to tell you all kind of madness, which is not the truth. They don't know the truth. All right, like we read before, they walk on in darkness, they know not. We, verse 25, lie down in our shame, and our confusion covereth us. Now we're confused, we're confounded, all right? And that word confounded, confusion, right here is kalamathanawa, which is the root word is kalamath, all right? Disgrace, confusion, all right? To be wounded, all right? To be taunted, to be insulted. What, we niggas, we black, we're African American, we Mexican, we're Native American, we're Tontos, we're Spics, we're everything but. I'm from Yasharallah, which is Israel in Hebrew. I'm from Yahawah, Judah, from Ban Yahawah Ban Yasharallah, which would be son of Judah, son of Israel. And we don't even know how to pronounce our names now. We don't even know who we are. We lie down in our shame, and our confusion covereth us, because we have sinned against the Most High, our power. We and our fathers, from our youth, even when we came out of Egypt, we was going off, even until this day, even to now. and have not obeyed the voice of the Most High power, which is why we are lying down in our shame. Meaning, what's the condition of our people? What are we dealing with today? The identity of our people is lost, as in the majority. Now, the real men of the Lord are coming out telling the people we are the real Hebrew Israelites and this and that. But motherfuckers ain't listening, except the righteous people of the Lord. And the Most High don't want everybody. 2/3 of our people will be destroyed through ICBM, nuclear missile fire, famine, the sword, riots, and the whole kind of madness is out there. The 4 sword judgments. All right. So let's go to Jeremiah 17:4. There's more examples of us having that confusion of faces, man. We lost our heritage, our culture. Jeremiah 17:4. And thou even thyself shalt discontinue, stop, from thine heritage, your portion, your land, your culture, your identity that I gave thee. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not. When we don't follow the law, statute, commandments, the Most High said, okay, you're going to lose your heritage, you're going to lose your culture, which is the disgrace, which is a shame, which is confusion of your face. Because now that you don't know your heritage and your culture, you think you're African. You think you've been ooking and booking in the motherfucking jungles. You think you're motherfucking anything on the fucking planet versus who you really are. A child of the living power. A son of the living God, man. An angel, man. A holy people. All right, a power of the great power. YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. And I will cause thee to serve thine enemies in the land which thou knowest not, which is over here in America, to this country and that country. We weren't thinking about America back 2,000, 3,000 years ago. We weren't thinking about Russia and Britain and Scotland and all those things being under the rule of all these other nations and the Philippines and all over the planet. For ye have kindled a fire in mine anger which shall burn forever. And burn forever means a very long time. Thus saith the Most High, cursed be the man that trusteth in man and maketh flesh his arm, and whose heart, his mind, departed from the Most High. He said, if you do that, you curse, man. If you trust in your flesh, you trust in these different nations, man. You trust in these different ideologies, man. That's why the Lord has put us in the confusion of face. That's why you don't know who the fuck you are. Because if you're a holy people, you must be holy. You must keep the law, statute, commandments to the best of your ability. All right? For he shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good cometh. So when the man of the Lord is saying that we the real Hebrew Israelites, this is the way, the truth, walk you in it, they run in the opposite way because they're going to listen to the Lil Wayne concert, to the Future concert. They're going to the basketball game. They're going to the club. All right? They're going to the fucking voting booth to vote for some fucking Donald Trump. All right? But shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land, and not inhabited. All right? Blessed is the man that trusteth in the Most High, and whose hope the Lord is. All right? Why? Because he should be planted, he should be as a tree planted by the rivers of water, and that spreadeth out her roots by the river, and shall not see when heat cometh, but her leaf shall be green, and shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. Because why? We're in the kingdom. What kind of land is that? That's the land of Israel. That's our homeland, Yasharallah. All right? And then we'll know who we are. We'll know what we're about. And we'll be living within that system of the Lord. All right? This is Obadiah 1 and 12. But thou should not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger. How did we become a stranger? He said that the Israelites became a stranger. We became basically a heathen. Let's go to that. Obadiah, verse, what was that? Verse 12. All right. The day that your brother, in the day, see, the brother in the day, disaster of him, must not be rejoicing, son. All right, let me go to the blue letter because it's a little bit better. 1 and 12, Obadiah 1 and 12. Enemy. All right, we go to Obadiah. (1:12). All right. It says, but thou shouldst not have looked on the day of thy brother in the day that he became a stranger. Age 52, 35. Nakar, misfortune, disaster, calamity, a strange or unhappy lot, fate or fortune, misfortune. All right, from the Hebrew word nakar, the root. All right, to recognize, to acknowledge, know, respect, discern, regard. So now, he said the day we became a stranger, which was mean we became unrecognizable. Right now, we used to be recognized as Israelite back in the day. You would see a so-called Negro, Latino, Native American, you would know they were Israelites, and people knew who we were. The fear and dread of us fell upon all nations, and they knew we were Israelites. All right, we were acknowledged that we were Israelites. We knew, had the knowledge, know. All right, we had the respect of an Israelite. We were discerned as an Israelite. We were regarded as an Israelite. All right, and distinguished and so forth. All right. To act or treat as foreign. So if you don't know that you're Israelite, he said the act when we became a stranger, when we were treated as a foreigner or strange or disguised or misconstrued. Well, let's go back to the scripture. If they came and took us, did they come and take us? Right. They says, neither should they have rejoiced to the children of Judah in the day of their destruction. So our place got destroyed. Neither should they have spoken proudly in the day of distress. We were afflicted. That thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people. They came into our country in the day of their calamity. They took us down. Yea, they shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. Neither shouldest they stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. So some of us tried to escape from the destruction, and they said, "No, there we go. He's right over there. No, right there. That nigga right there. He's right there." All right. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain. So that's captivity, that's slavery, that's losing our heritage, that's losing our culture, and that's why we have confusion to face as at this day, because we were taken from our homeland and put into another land under the jurisdiction of other people. All right, or they came into our land and they changed our laws, our commandments. They ruled over us in our land at some points in time, and then we start assimilating to the other ideologies of the people. And you go back into the Maccabees, second Maccabees, the 6th chapter and the 7th chapter. No, start with the 5th, 6th, and 7th chapter. They came into our places and they forced us to stop being obedient to our laws and our Sabbaths and our commandments and not eating the pork and the swine to death. All right, they killed us. They forced us to do all kind of shit, man. Which is why the Most High is fucking pissed the fuck off right now, man. And now we're just like the heathen. That's why the Lord says, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine head. All right. And it's because they stole us and we have lost our identity and our culture. And it was a punishment for the Most High. But you're going to get punished for doing it because you didn't supposed to touch us. All right. This is Isaiah 54. I got a couple more scriptures and I'm going to show some examples and then we're going to be done for the day. I can go all day on this topic because it's a heavy topic. And what's going to happen through the spirit of YAHAWASHI is the closer we get to the kingdom, there's going to be more influx of confusion of faces in the camps. It's going to be a great influx of people who don't look like the Israel wanted to be down. And it's going to be between them and the spirit of the Most High and the angels to decipher who's who. All right. Isaiah 54 and 4. Fear not, for thou shalt not be ashamed, neither be thou confounded. For thou shalt not be put to shame, for thou shalt forget the shame of thy youth, and shalt not remember the reproach of thy widowhood any more. Why were we widowed? Why were we in a state of widowhood? According to Lamentations, we are those widows. Why? Because if we don't know our father, just like we read in Jeremiah, as a wife treacherously departed from her husband, so have you all done. Well, when you leave, when your husband is dead to you, you're a widow. All right. Well, if you're sitting there praying to Jesus, who's a dead, white, blonde, blue-haired, white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed bitch, He's a dead guy. He doesn't fucking exist. You're a widow. If you're fucking Israelite and you're drawing off that Muslim doctrine, you're married to a dead guy. All right? You're a widow. All right? And any other false philosophy and doctrine out there. All right? For thy maker is thine husband. The Lord of hosts is his name. Yahawah is his name. And the Redeemer of the Holy One of Israel. The power and of the whole earth shall he be called. All right? So he's letting you know we're confounded and ashamed because we don't know our maker and our husband. All right? He likened Israel as a comely and delicate woman, according to Jeremiah 6:2. All right? So if you don't know who you are and who your Lord is, you get shamed. You get confounded. This right here, Isaiah 54:4, proves you that confusion of faces is shame. And being in a state of confoundedness, confusion. All right. Isaiah 61:1. Okay. This matter of fact, before we go to Isaiah 61:1, I'm just going to give you a couple examples of it. All right. You can look at a black man with a white woman, and this son comes out looking white. If he gets with a white woman, his son is going to look white. All right, and if that grandson gets with a woman, he's another white woman, he's going to be looking all, but they look like straight up crackers, and you wouldn't know that they're actually Israelites by blood. All right, so you're going to have that confusion of face on the outer terms, on top of the same fact that I guarantee you, you can see right now, he got confusion of face, and he is an Israelite, but he got dreads. That's not our custom. All right, I bet you he in love with this bitch and don't have no other women and as a main Israelite. That's against our custom. All right, what belongs to us is confusion of faces. All right, you got here so-called black man, and and his children look one of his children, he looked like he's a white boy, but he's going to grow up to be an Israelite, but look like and he's going to be confusion of faces. All right. This right here this is his father. This guy right here, this is his father right there. And he looks like a straight up white boy. All right. And this came from that article. Said, my dad left holding me. That's his dad was on the left and him on the right. No one knows that I'm black, nor do they believe he's my dad. And you can go read that if you want to, or go look it up and so forth. But we're not going to go into the whole thing. But matter of fact, I'll just read a little bit. I can relate. Only it is my mother that is black, so the whole, okay, that's somebody else responding to his. You will have to go up in the comments and so forth. But bottom line is the article, and he said, this is my dad, and I guess that's his mom, or I guess girl, I can't really tell right there, but that's his dad, and that's him holding him as a baby, but he comes out looking straight up white, but that's his dad. And he said people don't believe when he tried to tell him. It's like, man, I tried to tell him, like, hey, no one knows that I'm black, nor do they believe he's my dad. So when he said, hey, I'm black, or this is my dad, they're like, yeah, get the fuck out of here, you're a white boy, get the fuck out of here. All right. These are certain levels of confusion of faces. All right, these are confusion of faces here. There's a so-called white guy right here with a black woman, and his kids look like, either mixed or straight up black. Because if I saw these kids, I would think they're black, or maybe mixed depending on their hair. But they're white, because that's their father's white. All right. This is confusion of faces, just like over here. All right. Here's some. You'll see this guy. He almost looks like he's Mexican, but his father's so-called African American. If computer acting a little slow, Esau's a bitch. All right. But this guy plays football. His father is an African American, but his mom's Korean. So he looks a little Korean, a little Asian, or a little Mexican. But some people wouldn't know that he's a black guy. He's a straight up African, so-called American. He's most likely from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, or Levi. All right. Now, you look at Ray Dong Chung. She looks like a black woman. All right. But her father is Scottish, Irish, and Chinese. So now you got to go into that. Now he could be Jake, maybe not, depending on if he's a Scot or Irish going back to the Middle Ages. His forefathers when we were ruling over in Europe, or if his or China, or if his her father's father was just pure Chinese, and they go back to China and Chinese, then she might just be a gook, and and we wouldn't even know. That's confusion of faces. All right. Kimora Lee Simmons, she's kind of sexy, right? Well, guess what? Her father's African, so-called American, which means Israelite, and her mother is Japanese. All right. But you'll see this, and somebody might come up, and she might look like she's Japanese, and then brother might not want to deal with them, so they don't look like they're Jake. You never know. That's the reason why we have confusion of face. We have to be open-minded. I don't like using the word open-minded, but we have to be open to the Spirit of the Most High, to know, to try the spirits by the spirits. All right, to do a little bit more research when we're dealing with different people, because unto us all, the ones who look like Jake to the ones who don't look like Jake, belong confusion of faces, and that shame, and that losing of our heritage and our culture. All right, I'm going to end on Isaiah 61 and 1 through on down a little bit. This is Isaiah 61, and I'm going to read mostly the chapter. The Spirit of the Most High power is upon me, because the Most High have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Most High, and the day of vengeance of our power, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of Yahawah, that he might be glorified. And they shall build the old wastes, that shall raise up, they shall raise up the former desolations, and they shall repair the waste cities and desolations of many generations. So our people, we're going to praise the Most High, and we're going to build up the old wastes. What was wasted? Israel, Yasharallah, our heritage, our culture, our identity, our land, all right, and all the things that was within it, all right. And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the aliens shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. So we were once called strangers, as we read in Obadiah, but now the real heathen, they're going to be working for us. We're going to put them under our foot. We're going to put them down, all right. But ye shall be named the priest of Yahawah. Men shall call you the ministers of the Most High. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves. For your shame, not knowing who we were, falling away from the Most High, going through all the shit that we went through from the heathens, ye shall have double. And for confusion, and that shame here is also, for the record, bashath, right? Bashathkum, plural, of shame of you, so much like it, but bashath, shame, and then come of you, plural of you all. This basically our shame. For our shame, they're going to, we should have double. The Most High is going to give us a double portion of a reward. And for confusion, they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore, in their land, they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. We're going to have joy, happiness, our identity, our heritage, our culture, and the heathens as our servants and our slaves. All right. For I, the Lord, love judgment. I hate robbery for burnt offering. The Most High hates the whole fact and time that our heritage, our culture has been robbed. His children have been robbed. The Most High said so. All right. We're going to be restored to all of that, so we can lose this confusion of face. All right. And I would direct their work in truth. That lets you know whatever is not the truth, and whatever you're dealing that's not true to the Spirit of YAHAWASHI is shame and confusion, including our identity, including wickedness, including all the other things that we talked about. All right. And I will make an everlasting covenant with them, and their seed shall be known. Why? Because we haven't been known, which is part of our shame, among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that seed them shall acknowledge them that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed. This is easy. But if you don't go do the research and go break it down and go do the legwork, you're not going to get it. Which the Lord hath blessed. I will greatly rejoice in the Most High. My soul shall be joyful in my power, for he hath clothed me with the garments of salvation. All right, we know that we're the Israelites. We're going to have the knowledge, wisdom, understanding, the laws written within us. He hath covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels. For as the earth bringeth forth her bud, and as the garden causes the things that are sown in it to spring forth, so the Lord power Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI will cause righteousness and praise to spring forth before all the nations. So he's going to right this great wrong, this great confusion of our faces, and restore us into our heritage and our culture. All right. This has been Brother Uriah with another installment of GMS Chicago Sit Downs and GMS Turning Up the Heat. Unto our people belongeth confusion of faces, but only for a short time more. So-called Negroes, so-called Latinos, so-called Native American Indians are the real Hebrew Israelites, and the confusion of faces who are appearing to be various peoples amongst different nations. If you believe in the Most High Yahawah, you believe in YAHAWASHI, you believe that you're Israelite by blood, and you can call on the name of Yahawah, call on the name of YAHAWASHI, and return from your wickedness and leave the bullshit of sin and wickedness and iniquity alone and come back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Lord, you might just be a Hebrew Israelite. You better hope that you are and endure unto the end, and then the Most High will prove that so. So with that, I'm going to say all praises and honor and glory to Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. Double honors to the elders out in New York at Great Millstone at GMS, and honors to all the Akim around the planet, lifting up the name of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI and truth and sincerity. And with that, we're going to say Shalom.